Hi there, Will here, and the other day my mate David sent me a message. Well, not really a message so much as a screenshot of a Reddit post in which someone called Quinoa said that they'd picked up a Mamiya RB67 and it had come with a 360mm Sekor lens and that they wanted some more information on it. Now, David, being the proud owner of a 360mm Sekor lens, suggested that I borrow his and make a video on it. And, ironically, after this, when I went and looked at the Reddit post to make these screenshots, I noticed that someone had responded to Mr. Quinoa with a link to my 500mm RB lens video. So, I suppose this will be a reasonable follow-up. The first thing anyone that's ever looked into the 360mm lens will have noticed is that there is a post on a forum, I think it's Photo Trio, in which someone asks about the comparison between the 360 and the 250mm because they're interested in picking it up. And the first response, I think, is from a person called Mark B, where they say, "Don't listen to anyone that says that you can use these without a lens bracket. These are the same people that have bent RB67 bellow rails and messed up gears," or something to that effect. And that put a big dampener on my enthusiasm for this lens because every time I looked into it, finding a support bracket for it was quite tricky. Anyway, since David gave it to me without a support bracket, I figured to satiate my own curiosity and steel my nerves because I've already got one RB67 with bent bellow rails, I don't want another, I'd compare it to a lens that I use very frequently, the 250mm. Now, the weight discrepancy between the 250mm and the 360mm is 200 grams, technically, but I use my 250mm with a lens hood, and that lens hood somehow adds 100 grams to it. So the total weight discrepancy between the 250mm that I use frequently with my RB67, maximum extension for portraits and all that sort of thing, and the 360mm, which Mark B, elitist on Photo Trio, says you cannot use without a lens support bracket, is 100 grams. To me, 100 grams is not going to make or break my bellow rails, so I was comfortable to go out and shoot it. I mean, if you compare it to the 500mm, the 360mm is substantially smaller and weighs substantially less. It's much closer to the 250mm in terms of ergonomics and weight. And to make a point for the 360mm as opposed to the 500mm, the 500mm lens takes 105mm filters. So if you want to filter your picture through this thing, you're going to spend an immense amount of money and a lot of time looking for filters to use with it. Whereas the 360mm uses the exact same filter size as the majority of other Mamiya RB67 lenses, which is to say 77mm. So if you've got filters for your other RB lenses, you'll be able to interchange them with the 360mm, which is a very strong point for it, I reckon, outside of size and perceived functionality. Anyway, having resolved my worries about the 360mm breaking my Pro SD, I figured I'd go out and make some photographs. I'm up at the crack of dawn, but not for a Dawn Patrol video. I've got the lens set mirror up here now, and the light meter says 1 second at f11 for an exposure on the city. I framed it to get just the horizon, the city with that building over there cropping in the left side and that building on the right cropping in the right side. And hopefully it renders quite nicely. Well, that's the fastest 6 pictures I've made in a while. I made the cityscape I wanted to with the exact lighting I needed first. Then I made a vertical picture of it. Then I made a vertical picture of something else, and then I decided it'd be interesting to compare that lens wide open versus at like f11, so I did that. And then I took a picture of this flower situation with Devil's Peak in the background, because it looked quite interesting. Anyway, on to some portraits, I reckon. Welcome back, Jono, to the lens testing. Say hello to the people, Jono.
Hi everyone.
There we go. We're gonna take some portraits of him with a black velvet background and see how things render. 1/8 of a second at f11. It's literally just like shoulders, torso, head, shoulders. Bring your right hand slightly back, just so like, there you go, so I can see the whole hand in frame. Okay. Actuate shutter. Stay still. 3, 2, 1. Cool. Cool. 2 pictures left. 500 f11. The usual. Lean slightly forward and look at me inquisitively. Like raise an eyebrow or something. Or confused, yeah, there you go. Chin slightly up. I thought the camera jammed. That would have been very sad. Oh, I took a blank frame because I had it in mirror up. That's why it was funny. That ruins my plan to compare things. Stay as you are. E. Damn it, Will. Well, I'm somewhat impressed with it, to be honest. I reckon the main plus side is that it gives you that telephoto medium format look that one can get out of the 500mm, but the form factor is a lot smaller and it's a lot easier to cart about with you. I had it in my backpack with the 250mm and I wanted to compare the 250 to the 360 when I made that blank photograph of Jono, unfortunately. But here are some 250 pictures, headshots to compare to the headshot with the 360. The very close crop of Jono was at the minimum focusing distance for the 360, so that's the closest you'll ever really be able to get out of it. For a comparison though, I did make those 2 pictures on the mountain, one at f6.3, which is wide open on this lens, at one at f11, and the f11 one is definitely substantially sharper. Not particularly shocking, but you know, in case you were curious, it is a lot sharper stopped down, even at infinity. And in keeping with the rare RB lenses we've looked at, it has a fair amount of chromatic aberration going on for it. You can see it quite clearly in this portrait of Jono standing out in the sun. The lines in his shirt have purple shifts at the bottom and green shifts up. But I'm not going to say that that's the fairest comparison or fairest observation, because this is a Sekor lens, so it doesn't have any of the modified coatings and glass that come with the later models of it. So maybe if I can get my hands on the later model, I'll be able to compare it someday. Anyway, knowing what I know now, I personally would probably lean more towards buying a 360 instead of a 500, or a 250 with a 2x adapter, as I said in the 500 video, just because ergonomically this thing is an absolute disaster and carting it around in its case is just way more effort than it's worth, especially when you can get a very similar look out of the 250 and a 2x, or the 360 in its own little nifty package. So that's my verdict, I reckon. Decent lens, bunch of chromatic aberration, don't shoot it wide open. And to end this video off, a few people have asked now, over the course of me putting these videos out on the internet, whether I have a way that they can maybe contribute to the cost of making things or just help me go on greater adventures. And so I've decided to start a buy me a coffee thing, where you can buy me a roll of film instead of coffee, because I don't drink coffee. It's just an option for you to support the channel, I guess, because I'm still not particularly keen on putting adverts on anything, in spite of the fact that I could get some money in doing that now. I'm unsure how adverts would sit next to the majority of my videos, and I'd prefer for, if you enjoy things, you to be able to help me make stuff. So if you'd like to, there's a link below. And besides that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next week. Also, if you're curious as to why I'm wearing a suit today, I wanted to wear a suit for last week's video because that was closer to Halloween and I wore this suit for Halloween, but I figured wearing a suit and talking about film photography news might be a bit close to the way some other people do things. So today, talking to you about the lens with my Halloween suit on to get at least some use out of it. And the hat is a Mamiya hat, which a very cool fellow by the name of Asher sent to me from America. Asher's a legend and has become a friend of mine at this point, I reckon. Shout out to Asher.